Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Pappas Post Facebook Live. I am Gregory Pappas, and you are watching yet another episode of Live with Gregory Pappas. I'm very excited to be back on the Facebook channel and on the YouTube channel. Today, I am in the Midtown Manhattan offices of Pardalis and Nohavicka, correct?
Correct.
Taso Pardalis is an old friend, a longtime friend here in the Greek American community, and somebody that I've talked to often because of many of your questions that you always send me when we publish articles. One of the most commonly asked questions we get when we publish articles, especially during COVID, and we'll get to the details, is about Greek citizenship. It's the most commented on thing when we write about something. Everybody here in the United States and Canada and Australia, they all want to know what the situation is with getting your Greek citizenship. When the country and when the world shut down, everybody was looking for alternatives. They didn't want to be stuck in their countries. They wanted to travel to Greece. And we used to publish all these articles about, Greek nationals were allowed into the country, American citizens weren't allowed into the country. What is a Greek citizen? So what I did is I reached out to Taso and I said, hey, can we get together on Facebook Live, on YouTube, and answer everyone's questions in pretty much a 20-minute free legal session.
Yeah.
How's that?
It's
so
awesome.
We're giving you a free legal session on how to get your Greek citizenship. Taso, let's cut to the chase. What are the rules for American-born, because we're dealing with Americans, you're an American lawyer.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's Canadians and Australians and others watching too. But what are the basic rules of acquiring Greek citizenship? Who qualifies for Greek citizenship?
Sure. So anybody of Greek descent up to third generation qualifies for citizenship.
So third generation, let's clarify that. If your father or mother, your grandfather or grandmother, or your great-grandfather and grandmother
Correct.
were born in Greece.
Yes.
So that's third generation.
Yes. So the real key here is that there's a lot of people offering services as far as obtaining Greek citizenship, lawyers and non-lawyers alike. But what's really critical here for everybody, and you won't hear most people say this, but I've said it a few times publicly, is you do not need a lawyer to complete this process. The consulate here in New York, but with all the consulates that we've dealt with, and we've dealt with them across the world, they are really, really good at servicing these files. They're really good. You can just go there, or you can call them up and you can do this yourself. And so while we are giving away legal advice, it's really critical to let people know that you do not need a lawyer for this, although there are situations where you would want one because it gets hairy, right?
Well, full disclosure, I currently am applying for my Greek citizenship. I did hire a lawyer. It's not you.
All right.
So this is not a paid advertisement. He's not paying me to be here. He's here more as a service to provide information to all of you. I needed a lawyer to facilitate all of my stuff. I needed to have somebody in Greece to go to the Υπουργείο Εξωτερικών. There's no way I could have done this on my own with my schedule, with the right paperwork.
Sure.
So it's not so much, I think, hiring a lawyer, but it's hiring a facilitator
Absolutely.
that knows, that has a process. So so beyond that, I mean, what do you guys do? You reach out to the consulate?
Sure. So each application begins by first contacting the consulate and filling out a series of questions for them. That series of questions just basically is identifying information as far as you, your parents, your grandparents, and then the consulate will revert back with a list of documents that you will need to begin the process based on their research of you, right? So it all begins with an inquiry into the consulate, and then you wait for that response. The consulate then responds with what information they need. Usually they tell you, okay, bring birth certificates, marriage certificates, divorce certificates.
Of the relatives.
Of your parents or your grandparents and of your own, right? But initially of the relatives, and then any passports or Greek IDs that may exist in that lineage, right? And just to clarify on that, Greg, it starts, there's basically two ways that you can get citizenship. One is by birth or marriage, right? So you apply through birth or marriage, and the other is through naturalization. Both processes start with you going to the consulate and making this inquiry. So we're going to talk about birth and marriage first, right? And in this inquiry, the consul will respond, they'll give you these documents, and from there, you can begin compiling those documents, okay? We kick those back to the consulate after, look, sometimes it's pretty difficult to compile those documents, right? Relatives are in other countries and in other states, and it can take a while. But once we have everything, you submit those back to the consulate, and you wait for an approval. And that approval is called the viveosi, okay? So once you have this viveosi, that's when the real process begins, right? So we get the viveosi from the consulate, and then that's where you need someone, like you said earlier, on the ground in Greece, which we have somebody there, of course. And what that person does is they take the viveosi and they submit your documents for registry at 2 different places. One is at the Lixiarchio, okay, which is like a special registry, and the other is at the new local municipality office, which is KEP, right? And at KEP, you can do this in Athens. It's like in this building near Monastiraki, right? And what happens is you used to hear the stories about people having to go to their chorio or their island and go to the local precinct and file the document. KEP has centralized that. It's in Athens. So you file one at the Lixiarchio and you file one at KEP, and then you wait. Once they give you approval, right, then you take that and you come back to the consulate, and then you wait for your final approval. And that's the entire process, in short, of course, for registering through birth or marriage.
But 9 times out of 10, there's something complicated that happens.
Yes, I mean, look, usually the complications are, and in my own experience, right, this is how I got into it. This wasn't something that I even offered as a service a few years ago. We're, a business firm, and we represent people here in the community. But in my scenario, we had a changed name through Ellis Island, right? My family's name altered a little bit through Ellis Island. We had missing documents. I had a great-grandparent who came here in 1890. And that didn't affect everything, but the name changed a few times since then. And I still haven't gotten mine, not because of any delay by any administrative body, but because I had to figure out and sort out those name changes so that I could get my final approval. And so there's always these things, and that's where we become valuable as a service, right? We work through that for people.
I'm in the middle of that right now, too, and I actually had to go to the Greek court system because the documents that I submitted, my late father was born Christos Papadomanolakis. Somewhere there was a name change. He was married Christos Papadakis, and then he emigrated to America and all of a sudden magically became Chris Pappas.
Right.
So when I submitted the paperwork, they said Papadomanolakis, Papadakis, Pappas.
Yeah.
How is that the same person?
Yeah,
I'm like, trust me, it's the same person. It's my father, but there needed to be a continuity of the paperwork. So we actually had to apply before a Greek court and wait almost 3 years for a court date. It finally just got approved now, and I'm in the final stretch, I think, and I should have that Greek passport. On that note, Taso, what's the benefit of having dual citizenship? I'm not losing my American citizenship. America doesn't frown on people having a second passport. I mean, it's a right of ours, correct?
It's a right, and Greece is one of the few countries that has retained that right. And it's also considered one of the strongest passports in the world. For many reasons, but number one, you get access and you become an EU citizen as well. And many people use it for different reasons. They use it to travel freely throughout Europe. They also use it for education. A lot of people get the passport and have their kids attend college in Europe as a result. There's retirement benefits to having the passport as well. Additionally, as we saw during COVID and during lockdown, the Greek passport and the European passport would have allowed you travel in and out of the United States. So, for those of us that had it, not me yet, but for those of my friends and clients that had it, they were able to get on a plane and go, where the rest of us couldn't. And I think that's where a lot of people really saw the value of it and said, okay, we need to do this. And we, and from my discussions with the different consulate, have seen applications spike during that period.
Yeah,
right?
I actually wanted to talk to you about that because I've seen some numbers floating around. I mean,
crazy.
It was like thousands of people.
I think here in New York, I had done a similar presentation with Dr. Koutras, our Honorable Consul General, and I think he had mentioned on that presentation that they were receiving 100 applications a day.
Wow.
During COVID, and they only had 2 employees here that were able to work on that, and I think they could only process about 10 of those a day.
Right, and that's my next question, because I I have nothing but praise for the people at the Consulate here in New York City. They're just a dynamic group of people. They've helped me on a number of things. They're efficient. They're always willing to help, very professional. But I'm not going to lie to you, I've heard horror stories. I've heard horror stories about waiting time on the phone. I've heard stories about months in advance to get an appointment. I've heard, and people comment on the Pappas Post Facebook page many times sharing their own stories. Me personally, I've had nothing but good experiences. What is the wait time for this? I'm applying today for my Greek citizenship. Let's say, hypothetically, I'm using your services. I'm using the services of a lawyer/facilitator, and we start today. When can I get my citizenship, provided that all my paperwork is in order?
Yeah, provided all the paperwork is in order, you're probably looking at about a year.
A year, huh?
Yeah, and it's not because of any delay in the consulate or anything like that. They do have a high volume, but it has to go through them. Then it has to go through the 2 local offices, right, which is the CAP and the Uxiat Hio. Then it's got to come back to the consulate, and they all have to communicate internally before those things go back and forth. So, I mean, it takes time.
To clarify too, the consulate, there are consulates in different cities. So somebody in California has to go to their consulate there. Somebody in Chicago has to go there. If they're in Kentucky, they
they go to the nearest Illinois. Probably.
Illinois. I mean, there's a whole.
And we deal with all of them. Even we've done applications in the UK and in Australia and in Argentina and like everywhere. Yeah, because it's something where as long as you have. You can have the conversation with the consular, then you can move the file.
Yeah, and I know this is a difficult question to answer just because we've spoken offline about this, and it depends upon the complexity of the file. But on average, are we talking about a couple $1,000s here?
Yeah,
if you were to be hired.
On average.
If they do it on their own, there's still fees to pay, correct?
There are still fees, and it's probably about half or a little more, half to 2/3 of what it would cost to hire someone.
Yeah, for me, the fee that I'm paying my lawyer is the fee of peace of mind and the fee of not running around and waiting in line in all these Greek offices. It's a nightmare.
You know what happens if you're doing it yourself? Eventually, you'll just drop the ball because life is happening.
Of course,
right? You have work, you have family, you have that, and you're just it becomes a back burner thing, right?
And you have a full team here handling this. You created this whole division.
So on the Greek matters alone, which is again not our normal line of work, but we have a 3-person team. We have Stacy, who's our director of Greek affairs. Then we have an attorney who's admitted both here in New York and in Greece, and then we have someone on the ground in Greece. We have an attorney there as well in Eritrea who kind of runs around and takes care of all the local filings.
So since you've started this, and I don't know if you can answer this question, how many files have you processed? How many people have you helped gain their Greek citizenship?
We only started about a year and a half ago, but we've got a couple of hundred already.
That's great.
It's pretty cool. And you know what? For me personally, it's something that I feel connects me to Greece, and I've always had this dream of kind of working with or doing something in Greece, and it's led to a lot of other things like acceptance of inheritance and pleuroxousia and property transfers and people buying apartments, and we do it all from right here.
So on that note, an interesting question, because I get this asked a lot by many of you who read the Pappas Post. Having Greek citizenship, does that help with property transactions? Is it easier to purchase, or can an American with American passport go and buy a summer home?
It's the same. They just want tax money, like everyone, and
But the Greek citizenship doesn't add value.
No, it doesn't do anything. The other thing, just to go back for a second on the consulate, considering the volume that they have, I know people are like you said, we're complaining and stuff, but if you look at the number of applications that they field and the number they're processing, they're doing a great job, right? Just on the numbers. And they have a new platform on their website where you can actually go and begin the process right on the website and submit all the documents right on the website and get an appointment right on the website. So a lot of those stories you hear about people calling and being on the phone for hours and not being able to get appointments, I think in the last 2 years that's been eliminated by Dr. Koutras because he's streamlined it all on the website, and even when I want an appointment, I just go to the website and I get my appointment. And it's pretty awesome because when you go there, they know you're coming, they have all the documents because you uploaded everything, and you kind of just walk in and they have everything ready for you. Of course there's horror stories, but I think that's more about people's paperwork and what happened to their names similar to mine. Right?
Yeah, the other interesting thing that I've heard about Taso is people whose grandparents came to America but didn't possess Greek citizenship. They possessed Turkish citizenship because they were subjects of the Ottoman Empire. They were living in northern Greece before northern Greece. A lot of people have written to me about their grandparents were Greek, but they had Italian citizenship because Italy owned or had taken over the Dodecanisa or the Ionian Islands. So how do you deal with that?
That is a gray area, and there has to be some provable connection and a descent into actual Greek registry. So there's got to be something, whether it's land ownership or a birth registration in a choreo or something. There has to be some connection.
Have you had that happen to you with people that her grandparents are either Turkish, which they're not, but they were subjects of the Ottoman Empire?
We have a lot of Ipiriotes calling, and they have that, and what we try to do there is just find some connection to the actual modern Greek state. That's our goal in those,
To give a quick recap, I'm here with Taso Pardalis, and we're talking about getting your Greek citizenship. Taso is a partner in a law firm called Pardalis Nohavicka right here in the heart of Midtown Manhattan. The reason why I invited Taso to be on live with Gregory Pappas is because it is one of the most common questions I get sent to me by you via email, via the comment section of the Pappas post. And this is not a paid advertisement. Tasos is not my attorney doing my citizenship paperwork.
We found out he hired somebody else.
He found out I hired somebody else, but full disclosure, I hired somebody else years before you even started this, and my process has been taking so long because of my name situation. But no, I think this is a valuable service that you're providing, and if I can get this content out to people, it will stop all of you from messaging me all the time, and I kind of feel
this might create more
messaging
respond. Now.
Yeah, well, actually, don't message me, message him. We have a special email address that Taso has for free inquiries like this. If I'm not mistaken, it's gogreek@PN Lawyers. P like Paul, N like Nancy, lawyers.com.
That's correct.
And ask for Taso, gogreek@pnlawyers.com. Ask for Tasos. Tasos will get you your Greek citizenship. Taso, you mentioned two ways. You mentioned the birth route and you mentioned the naturalization route.
Yeah.
What
So
does that
we
mean?
covered birth and marriage, and then there's naturalization, okay? So in the process of naturalization, what you do is you basically follow the same steps. You go to the consulate, you make the inquiry, okay? The consulate reverts back. They say, this is what we found on you and your family. These are the documents we need. And you then submit those documents. They give you the viveusi again, except that now when you're in Greece, you don't have to go to the two different offices that we discussed for birth and marriage, which is the Lixiarchio and the KEP office. You now go to one centralized office for naturalization, which is the Politografio. And it's a much easier process if you can get there. Although most of us who are born here or are applying through a grandparent or a parent have a much harder time going the naturalization route, especially if your paperwork is shoddy. But if you have the proper paperwork, which the consulate will tell you also, right? Go birth, marriage, or go naturalization.
What's the difference?
So the difference, Greg, is that if the parent, the person applying's parent, was either born in Greece or married in Greece, then you can apply through birth or marriage. If neither of those parents was born in Greece or married in Greece, if they were both, let's say, born here or married here, then you go to the grandparent and you apply through naturalization. So my parents happened to be born in Greece but married here. I was able to go through birth, right? But if my parents were both born in the U.S. or somewhere else, right, and they were both married in that other country, I had no birth or marriage in Greece, I would go to my grandparents. I would say my papu, Taso, was from Sparti, and I would find that, and then I would apply for naturalization through my grandparents. So that's the difference.
It sounds more and more complicated, which is why I insist on hiring a lawyer to do this, or hiring a facilitator.
We are complicated people.
We are complicated people, and the Greek government doesn't make things any easier for us. I'm with Taso Pardalis from Pardalis and Nohavicka, having a wonderful conversation about your right to Greek citizenship, and it is our right. Greece gives us that right.
Absolutely, it's a great right.
It's a great right, and I'm looking forward to carrying that Greek passport. Taso, what are some of the commercial benefits? Let's say I want to do business. Right now, as an American, it's very complicated for me to do business in Europe, to do business in Greece, but this Greek passport pretty much opens up my door to a lot of opportunities over there.
It opens up a lot. It is definitely complex doing business in Greece, whether you have the passport or not. Things are quite long tail and bureaucratic, although they're getting better. Mm-hmm. The administration is trying to cut down the steps you need to form a company, for example. Mm-hmm. But if you've ever formed a company in Greece, which we've done a bunch of, it's here it takes, we have a corporation or an LLC on our desk in 24 hours, right? And in Greece it could take you weeks and if not months just to form a simple company. But look, they have certain steps that had to be in place given the history of what was going on there financially. But it definitely makes things easier because when you show up to government agencies to form your entity or get a license of some sort, if a license is required to run the type of business you need in Greece, having that passport makes things a lot easier when you kind of pull it out and show them that, as opposed to having your U.S. passport in my instance and saying, okay, now you gave us the U.S. passport, you want to open a company, give us these other 20 documents, right? Mm-hmm. Which are the same documents you submit to get that passport. Now you just go with the passport and you can begin the process of doing business or acquiring real estate or whatever that might be. Mm-hmm.
Right. Once again, please do not comment in the comment section because we're not going to be able to answer all of your questions. You can email Taso directly at gogreek@pnlawyers.com. That's P like Paul, N like Nancy. It won't cost you anything, right? You're not charging people
not charging for
these are all
conversation.
Benefits of friendship with Greg Pappas and the Pappas Post. You can email Taso about your citizenship situation. Taso, in addition to the citizenship stuff, you guys are a full-service law firm. You do a lot of great work in the Greek community. I've seen you guys everywhere. You're very supportive of the community, and I think community service is very important. And congratulations for that.
Thank you.
You're like parsley, really. You're everywhere. But what other things do you guys do?
We do a lot of commercial disputes and business disputes, a lot of business transactions. We represent, in this community, I would say, so many different businesses and family-owned businesses and the people behind them in all of their commercial transactions and their commercial disputes, in their personal matters, in their family matters, in their acquisition of real estate and companies, in their intellectual property, in their trademarks. I mean, really, in everything. We want everyone to just be with us for everything forever, and that's our goal. And we try to treat everyone as if we're partners in their business and not just their attorneys. So,
well, I think you're doing a great job as far as the community goes because, like I said, you guys are very supportive of the local Greek American community. NFTs. Are we doing NFTs? I don't even know what the hell an NFT is. But
we have done a lot of NFTs.
You have?
Oh yeah, a lot. We were in there very early. In fact, we just did one for a very famous Greek girl, the singer Vasi. And her NFT launched about a week or two ago, and we helped her with that. And from what I understand, it's going amazing. And she's got merchandise coming as a result of it. And
that's great.
And if she's watching, Vasi, congratulations. I think she got married this week as well.
Congratulations, Vasi. Vasi reads the Pappas Post.
All right, so she's going to see me congratulating her.
Yeah. So, Taso, thank you for your time. Thank you for shedding light on this very complicated matter of getting your Greek citizenship. One final time. gogreek@pnlawyers.com. It's a free email. He won't charge you. Of course, he'll charge you if you decide to hire him afterwards, which, it's the name of the game.
Yeah.
But thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for everything,
Thanks for coming. Thank you all for
guys.
watching Live with Gregory Pappas. We will be back again in a few weeks with another equally exciting guest.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.